with all this stuff that's going on now with Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, we're going to settle that shit once and for all. Gotta have facts. I always tell people look into things instead of looking at things. Me personally, because I know what I know, and I have deep-rooted knowledge because of studying and being grandfathered into things, I'll say. That's why I really don't tap into politics, voting, and all of that stuff, because I already know what time it is. However, what we will discover,
all lies will be exposed. That's all.
I ask you about Kamala Harris. How you feel about her?
She's a piece of I was in California. She lacked professional competence, and she worked on it by hiking up her hemline when she needed influence rather than researching. I was out in California for 15 years doing my show when she was at her peak, and she had a reputation amongst the trial lawyers of being lazy. She just hike her skirt up and try to flirt, and she wasn't that good in the courtroom, if not pretty bad in the courtroom. So I'm not surprised at what she does. She's 60 years old, and I think, listening to her word salad and the way she talks, I think she's got early onset dementia and also some problems with menopausal complications. That's that, you see, today is going to be tomorrow, so since it's going to be tomorrow, today we have tomorrow, which is why we are now.
Hey, and you know what? When you listen to her talk, you kind of get that. See, he's going to be connecting the dots throughout this interview. And for those Kamala supporters, yeah, she's a black woman, we got to support her. Why don't y'all come for him? See, y'all ain't woman enough to come for him. He's exposing some real stuff, some real truth here. Pay attention.
Like, what did you say? They have something in mind, but they cannot cognate getting all the way through it, which is why she's famous for this word salad garbage, and she doesn't make a bit of sense. I think, since she's only 60, she's actually on a worse track than Biden was. Biden is 20-some years older than her, and he has been senile for a long time. Now, about 5 or 6 years ago, when did they start ramping up to do this? 2019. Okay, I was saying Biden has been a failure his whole adult career, a second-rate, third-string player. He's in the game, so he wants to make a name for himself. I considered him for years poor trailer park, urban trailer park trash. And he's a crook. He's a third stringer. Now, what I said he was going to do is he probably wants to claim fame for being the first person to see to it that a woman got to be president. And what I predicted, I'm slightly wrong on it, was that he was going to get in, try to get elected, and if he got one term, try to get elected for a second one. And then halfway through his term, when he had served 2 years, to retire or resign in her favor. So under the 22nd Amendment, what happens is she can serve for the final 2 years for somebody and then be elected twice more, so that woman would be able to serve 10 years, second only to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who got elected to 4 terms before they put the amendment in place so you couldn't. Now, that said, I think, and my major at UCLA was political science, my analysis is they picked the weakest somebody they could as a figurehead, somebody who had some apparent minority status, which she does not. And what goes on is that you get her, everybody that is everybody would be afraid to go against her because of what she can pass herself off as, and then you get somebody that's easy to control because she's lazy.
And when you look at that from an aspect of, the entertainment industry, you look for pawns. That's where you have your sexy reds and your Sukianas and so forth. You have your pawns. You have someone that you can bring in, and they're going to do any and everything. Or what we talk about the casting couch, or we talk about those that are chose. You have been chosen to run for president, vice president. This is no coincidence. So all these things that are going on is no coincidence. We chose you and we placed you here. You didn't earn it on good faith and hard work.
Because she is becoming incoherent, and because she's always tried to do the casting couch to get where she wants. Now the problem is that'll get somebody to a certain level quickly, but you can't get past that level if you don't have competence and talent. So my thing about it is if I'm crude about it, in this city years ago, I used to represent a whole bunch of pimps and hoes, and I know a hoe when I see one.
And that's one thing you can never say that you don't know. See, someone like him gonna always spot him.
All lies will be exposed. That's all.
And I say this, I don't care, women, you do what you want to do if you want to have recreational sex, but when you do the casting couch or anything else for professional purposes to get paid or advance, you are.
Exactly. And I just want to chime in again. What do you think happens in the industry, entertainment industry? Even the sports industry. Okay. Like the shit don't happen in the political industry. Yeah, this type of shit does. Be game.
And she's old, and the problem is what is she supposed to do? One of her sycophant slaves comes up and unwraps her in a carpet naked at Putin's feet, and he says, "Oh yeah, I'm Julius Caesar." He said, "No, I got better stuff here already. Plus, I don't want you anyway, you old woman." I met her daddy, fine gentleman, Professor Harris. And the problem with her being black is Professor Harris says he's Caucasian, mixed Irish and Hindu. He doesn't have any black ancestors, but his Irish ancestors owned a lot of slaves in Jamaica and had them to work on plantation. So if mama is on the birth certificate listed as a Caucasian, daddy says he's a Caucasian Hindu and has no black ancestors, how did she get to be black?
Yeah, how did you get to be black? The shit's not adding up.
All lies will be exposed. That's all.
Now, a little side story. When I had my show, let's say this has been 26 years ago, I had two beautiful women that I thought were sisters on the show. And they
Story
laughed
time.
one time when we all went to a happy hour and said, "You think we're black, don't you?" "Yeah, aren't you?" "No, we're Hindu." One of them said, "My mother's a Hindu Brahmin caste, and my father was Hindu warrior caste. He took an oath to the family to protect her. They fell in love, eloped, and now we got a death warrant on us. We can't go back to India." So, yeah, and then they gave me two books. The guys were Hindu, and they were very dark, but they cut their hair off close, grew beards, and started dressing and acting black, and they got financial aid. One of them, I think, went through medical school that way, masquerading for being black. Somebody else did it. So She went to Howard, and by the way, she told one big lie when she was talking about she got bust because of something Biden did when she was running against him. Well, the yearbook that she put out there,
All lies will be exposed. That's all.
aristocrats in England, but they were born in Jamaica. So if you go over there, you see people from Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia, Kenya, South Africa, you name it. It's part of the British Commonwealth, and nobody needed a passport, and you could just go in and out. So it's not unusual. You're not black just because you're from Jamaica, and they have a whole lot of white people that never left, and their ancestors owned a lot of slaves. The Maroons went up into the hill country and got themselves free back in the 1840s, but you know, other than that, it is what it is in Jamaica. So just because you're from that country does not mean you are of the black race. So the problem is why don't you go get your daddy to give you an affidavit that you have a black ancestor? And since the only possible claim you have is through your great-grandmother, who he says was a Hindu house servant that just happens to be swarthy, where'd you get your blackness from? See, you're faking it again.
All lies will be exposed. That's all.
And say what you want to say about Trump, but look at what Trump has done for the time that he was in there. Look at what Kamala Harris has done for her time in there. She done shit. She got elected as vice president, and you know what they did? They moved her off to the side because they knew. They knew. They moved her to the side. They kept her out the way. They moved her ass smooth out the way. We saw that shit. Think about it. Get out of your feelings and your emotions and start thinking logic.
They're trying to win the game. It is just play to them. They don't give a damn about the people they represent. They just want to win. So they lie, cheat, steal to win the game. And that brings up the other thing, where the Supreme Court of California ordered her to produce the evidence that was exculpating to somebody sitting up on death row that she had hidden. They did that over and over and over again with her hiding this evidence.
All lies will be exposed. That's all.
Now, there are exceptions to this rule with career prosecutors, but if you ever want to sleazy somebody, find yourself a career prosecutor who's never done anything else but that until they have moved up. Now, there have been people like Thomas Dewey, who was a career prosecutor.
So y'all want to talk about the shit that Donald Trump has done or said? He's a racist, but the things that he said really wasn't racist. Because the same stuff that supposedly he said, black folks said to themselves. They said to each other. So riddle me that.
You have people like that, and you got Kamala, who was a career prosecutor, and that's essentially all she's done outside of moving directly over into politics. They tend to be crooks. They're not good people. It's like I used to, on the bench, it's like, excuse me, can you approach both of you? Do you have any character? Do you realize what you just did? Well, I mean, no, we can't have that. That is not going to be allowed up in here.
We all have different opinions, but we all adults at the end of the day. You know, we are all adults. I don't need to shame nobody. I don't need to come for somebody because their beliefs is different from mine. No. I want to know. Until then, peace, love, and blessings.